So it's great to be in conversation with you, Lee. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to rewatch your film, The Treehouse. I'm here with the director of the film, The Treehouse, Truong Minh Quý. My name is Julian Ross. I'm a programmer and a writer based in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Thank you to Document Film Festival for inviting me to moderate this conversation, and also thanks to you, Lee, for showing the film The Treehouse. So I've got a few questions prepared to discuss with you, but I first wanted to start with kind of an idea around the film that I had while rewatching it, which was the film to me is about giving shape to memory and the various ways you can give shape to memory, and how we as humans do that. And we see various ways people do that in the film. Firstly, there's language, of course, which allows us to describe things and also communicate those things with other people. The other thing was like drawings. There's the moment of drawing the treehouse that we see. Another is like the tomb house, of course, but also there's film and filming. And I was thinking about how all those different tools give us a way to shape, give form to memory. But I was particularly struck by the conversation you have with one of your interview subjects, Cao Thị Hậu, about how she is able to remember things really early from her childhood, even the moment she was born. And well, on the other hand, you as a filmmaker can barely recollect things from before you were 4 years old. And that got me thinking, do all these tools that we have as human beings and how we've evolved to have even more, do they actually make us worse at remembering things? I was wondering if you could start with that.
That's in fact a very complex, no?
Yeah, maybe
complex subject to start with, but I think it's interesting. But yeah, thank you for asking me and for watching the film and rewatch. Very appreciate. Actually, for me, is this film is already stay quite distant with my moments now. So now I'm talking about it, maybe also like a viewer. So yes, I think yeah, in the film, like you mentioned, we have different tools to record, to keep, to make memory visible. And then there's the story of Miss Hậu, when she can tell everything that that actually is not recorded, but it's even before a normal person can remember the moment she was given birth and so on. So actually it posed me an interesting question, like so is it that memory is that we can see, or is that what we cannot see, you know, actually? Because a photograph is obviously it says something about something, but is it there is something that that being limited by that photograph itself, that maybe without that photograph maybe something else will be remembered, but by being there the photograph stop something else to live. So in that sense, I think the memories of Miss Hậu is in that sense that because in the environment they didn't have such a tool to keep their story visible and continuable. So they have to depend on the oral story, of course, and also I think it's basically the imagination. So there is kind of the interesting relation between a concrete memory like photograph and the imagination that so I think in this film I try to approach memory through the way of imagination. So yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I really like that. It's really the appreciation of that capacity of memory really resists against the kind of experience that these indigenous communities have gone through these kind of enforced displacement from living in caves to being taught how to make rice, grow rice, and yeah, move into the town, the city, basically. And there's that idea, a presumption of progress there. Like there's that idea that you share of people thinking they were progressing 1,000 years by with this act, but actually through such displacements, people have lost the capacity to imagine and to recollect in the way that myth somehow is able to recollect. Yeah, that's really powerful. This film sits in a tradition, a long tradition, let's say, of ethnographic filmmaking, in the sense that, just to describe it, it captures oral histories and experiences of a different community to yours. And it's a film that really recognizes that tradition of filmmaking and goes against some of it. So I was wondering for you, were there things that you really didn't want to do that you decided, or things that you really wanted to do in approaching your subjects through filmmaking?
You mean like in this film?
Yeah, did you have for yourself maybe like a guidebook, let's say, or any inspirations from other filmmakers, whether it's something you wanted to do or didn't want to do?
Yes, I think it's clear that those ethnographic film or anthropological film, yeah, is at the beginning of this project, I watched several films like that. It's the French anthropologists, I think, yeah, they came to Vietnam to film, and in a way there is certain piece for me when I watch those kind of image, because they just capture the daily life of the minority people, the minority, yeah. So the people in the film just doing the traditional work, like go to the rice field and go to hunting, something like that. So the image look very peaceful, and actually it's also have the historical value. So it's preserved the yeah, we know that kind of cultural things. But then I think we all understand that that kind of peaceful image actually at the beginning, before the camera starts, is already have something that's quite oppressed, because the presence of a French anthropologist in that play is already something that that is not normal. So in a way, in this film, in the treehouse, there is some image that we capture that it can remind you that remind you of those anthropological film, and in a sense, in a way, it's intentional to create that sense of ethnographical film. So because for me, it's an observation. So you just come to a strange place and you observe the life of the people you don't know who, and then you try to get into that by filming them, and then the film go in a different direction by against that its own way of approaching people. So yes, so for me, yeah, in a way, the ethnographical film, those film that you can search on internet, especially French people, they film about Vietnamese indigenous people. they are inspiration in a way. They have such certain aesthetics that's quite interesting, and they have kind of cultural value. But what I want to how to say, in a way, criticize or reflect is the undergoing violence behind and before the film start. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like one way you avoid that violence is through the insertion of yourself in the film, your own stories, your own recollections, and your own voice. I was wondering, at what point in the process of making the film did you decide to involve yourself as much as they do into the film?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think how to say, it's not a clear choice for me to involve my own story in the film, because at the beginning I was thinking of why it had to be about me. I mean, because it's strange, that kind of ego of a filmmaker, want to put everything in the film about yourself, your life. I had that enough in my previous film. So in this film, I try not to go in that way anymore. But then along the way, when I editing, I realized that there is kind of uh, unfairness, because I keep showing people story. People, they tell me about their own life, their personal memories. They show me their domestic space, and then somehow I am, as a filmmaker, I have the right to decide if I want or not to involve. So because to show our personal life, I think is actually is us a bit of courage. Even people don't realize that. But yeah, we don't want to be exposed. We don't want to be weak, basically. But then as a filmmaker, you decide, okay, I'm too shy to say that, so I don't. So I have to get over that point again. So I think that is fair, because if they show their story, so I have to do that. and and of course, in terms of the film structure, is create something. Yeah.
Yeah, and you also put yourself at a distance in both time and place. Like you, the voice, the in the film is looking back from 2045 to the present, um, from 2045 to the present, and is in Mars. So it's in a kind of a speculative future at a time when people are be moving to Mars. So I was wondering what this distance enabled you to do for this film.
Yeah, there are a lot of things I wouldn't have been able to do without creating that distance. First of all, is the uh, how to say, I don't want to I don't want to make it a normal documentary. Basically, I don't want to make just with the voiceover and the interview. I mean, it's a bit it's a bit I don't know how to say, but I always, I don't know, I want to make a mess. Basically, I want to just make a mess. We can we can talk a lot about theory, but it's fun to make a mess. And it creates such a spontaneous reaction, even to you as an editor or director. You
Yeah.
just react with that moment when you connect two things, and then suddenly you feel that the film can go that way, and then there's blah blah blah, and then it's really a spontaneous reaction of that moment. But because this film, of course, is about home. So I think the basic of idea of home and homelessness is that you only can feel being homelessness when you are not at home, basically. So in order to feel that, I have to put the audience in the another perspective, the perspective of somebody that is not at home, which in this case the whole planet anymore. And that's the idea of create a parallel structure and parallel spaces and time of here and there and now and then and something else and something else. Yes, yes, something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me to describe my experience as a viewer, the many layers, what you describe as a mess, is really valuable in the sense that it comes across less like a lesson or something where I'm being given all this information in a structured way, and it feels more like a kind of a thinking through process where that's I'm invited to kind of listen into. And yeah, for this subject matter, I think it really works well, especially because you show a resistance to the kind of anthropological, ethnographic style of filmmaking and description of people. It offers something else, and it's intentionally isn't something else that is already pre-made and structured. You're still thinking through it while making it. That really comes across. One nice moment for me is the kind of what becomes a homage to Agnes Varda's The Gleaners and I, where your cinematographer forgets to stop filming and you kind of wait to reel a film, and it becomes a nice accident because you describe it as the film's kind of like a last dance of the film. Yeah, can you kind of elaborate on that moment and its significance, the reason for you to include it in the film?
First, because I like that film, and then but um, at the beginning of the editing, I didn't even think about that shot, that accident, because it didn't belong to the film at that moment. But then along when I start to change the editing, and after many differences, and then that scene is find its way to be in the film, in a sense that because it talk about filmmaking, it talk about the how to say the arbitrariness of filmmaking, of what can happen during you shoot your film, and then because I use that scene in connection when I talk about when I shoot people that take away their anonymity. Yeah, so that scene is it go quite well with that idea of filming, of shooting. And what did I talk during that scene? But I mean, it's really a spontaneous idea to link that shot with the Agnes Varda film, because basically they look the same. It's just that yeah, they look the same. But yeah, it is also interesting because in Agnes Varda film, it's the digital camera now, it's the handy camera, so it's she's very joyful when she watch the footage. But for me, it's not joyful at all when I watch the footage, because it's on film and I know what I mean. And then I was a bit with my DP, but then after that I'm happy.
Yeah, you mentioned this anonymity of the subjects of that the subjects of the interviews lose their anonymity because they're filmed, they speak, and I found that very powerful as an idea, and it also made me think of the photographs that I see you show in the film, where the people's faces are blurred out. On the one hand, they are able to remain anonymous, so they're freed from that burden. But on the other hand, they appear as quite violent images, like they're also erased, and their identity is not visible. So I was wondering how to grapple for you with that tension between the freedom of being anonymous versus the kind of yeah, the invisibility of their lives. How did you kind of deal with that tension?
I don't know. But the idea of the blurring the faces of people, yeah, I think it starts from the real photograph that actually you see in the film. Yeah, that the photograph of the group of young people standing in a forest, and their face were blurred. They are the Yarai people. They are the real group of Yarai people. They try to how to say that migrated to uh, to Cambodia, but they stuck. I think they stuck in Cambodia in the forest. So that's so we understand that for that photograph, the group of Yarai people, the journalists have to blur their faces because of the safety, the security. So and also yeah, but here there's something I don't know. This for me the exposure of media. I mean, I consider myself also a part of that, especially for the Lang, the man who live in the forest, because after many things happened to him and the white media also portrayed him, taking a lot of photo and make a legend about his life, and for me it's a bit too much. And then I come to him after all of that media. I mean, and I feel like I'm just a continuation for him. I'm sure that I'm just another journalist, another media come to because I'm curious about his life. And of course, like he can say no, but the thing is that I realize that the indigenous people, they have the quite friendly reaction to a stranger. They never say no to you. So in a way, because of the easiness, you know, to to appear in your film, to expose themselves, then I feel a bit bad, yeah, because it's too easy. So there is something maybe there's something maybe wrong about that actually, because they should have be more difficult, but no. And so there is the so I think but it's dilemma because without their face I cannot make the film, but I'm stuck in that, you know, because maybe somebody will make a film without any faces and it's good. I mean, especially documentary, you can make that, it's good. But so the whole idea of blurring the face to talk about and talking about anonymity and identity actually is it's just to show that I'm in just a complicated question to myself, and I don't know how to solve that problem, and I don't know how to make it less brutal, but maybe it's more brutal by saying by that I make it that way. It's get into deeper complication.
Yeah. Uh, in the film, you also go inside of a tomb house, which is, I'm sure, very private space for the the family members and the people around this the person. And I'm wondering, yeah, first, how was that for you, and the process of talking to include this into the film. Yeah, and you say there indigenous people who you spoke to were very open and quite welcoming. Yeah, but it must have been a difficult scene to shoot for you as well. Can you share us a little bit about
Yeah,
that experience?
I think actually that scene is for them, for those for yeah. I was thinking like you too. Maybe it's difficult for them for me to film them crying and mourning. You know, it's very long. It's very emotional. But then actually because it's a kind of that like a daily activity for them. So every day they come to the tomb house to cry and to to talk about something, the same thing in the crying every day. So it's kind of for me. The thing is, it's quite fascinating because at the moment they stop crying, they totally normal. And I mean, without camera, it's still like that for them because, for example, there is a scene in the tomb house with a woman who cry in for her mother. Before I saw her, we already heard her because we were shooting in the cemetery, and then I heard a crying of a woman very dramatic and very loudly from somewhere. And then I asked a local, and then she told me that she knew that woman, and then she can take me to talk to her about being in the film. And then we talk, and then of course she agree. And then at the moment she come inside the tomb house, and then she sit down, and then she start over again exactly the same like that. So it's kind of ritual, so it's become daily activity. So actually there is not much difficult on that to convince them. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's beautiful that it's a daily ritual and it's just part of everyday life, and
Yeah,
there's no
at least for
shame
few
around it.
years after the person died. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Um, in the credits, you thank a philosopher. I wrote down the name Gaston Barcelo. I was wondering if you could share with us the significance of his writings that you might have referenced for this film.
Sure, because I think without his writing, I cannot get the poetic aspect of a house. So actually, the tree house, if we combine, because in the film we see different kind of houses, from the tree house, from a cave, from a dirt house, from normal house in the city. So it's like to try to build an universal image of a house. So I have that image is from his writing. And particularly there are some shot in the film that totally like translate from his writing, like when he talk about the threshold of the door that divide the outside world and inside world. So we see that the camera making that connection to from the inside world to the outside world through the threshold of the door. And also I think for you or for the audience, it looked totally simple, like the shot of the camera panning around the house. Is that maybe is that the normal movement of the camera to describe the space? But actually, for me, it's from his writing, because I want the camera move like that for the audience to get the feeling of the material of the space, and also the idea of the corners of the house when the babies play by the stairs at the corners of the house. It's I think it's silently it's come from his writing, and especially the image of a lonely house in a big space like that with the light. So it's all about the poetic of a human. Human. Yes, something like that.
Great. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you so much. I think we'll stop the Q&A there. I know you're working on your next project, Vietnam. So good luck with the pre-production and process of making that film. We will look forward to watching it. To the audience listening, The Treehouse is available on Document Film Festival's website from the 25th of January to the 31st. So please do check that out. So thank you so much, Truong Minh Quý. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Sam.